The story took place in a wealthy family in Norway. On July 8, 1989, a baby boy named Mats was born. From the very first moment his mother saw him, her heart completely melted. Mats had a happy childhood. From his first diaper change, to his first birthday gift, to the moment he learned to walk on his own, his parents carefully recorded every precious moment. But as time went by, his parents noticed that Mats was developing much slower than other children his age. He would often fall for no apparent reason, and once he fell, he struggled to stand up again. Eventually, they discovered the heartbreaking truth. Mats was suffering from a muscle disease called Duchenne, muscular dystrophy. The condition only affected about 1 in every 5,000 people. At that time, there was no cure or effective treatment. Even more cruelly, the disease only affected boys. The only thing his parents could do was to help him experience as much happiness as possible. During the limited time he had left on Matt's 10th birthday, his parents gave him a video game console because he depended on a wheelchair to move around. Gaming became his closest companion. Inside the virtual world, he only needed to move his fingers to experience things just like anyone else. Later, as Matt's hands gradually became weaker, his parents bought him a computer. During the final 10 years of his life, Matt spent nearly 20,000 hours inside a game called World of Warcraft. The game eventually became his entire world. Although Matt once said that he was never lonely because he could always play with others in the game, his parents believed those people were only temporary visitors in a virtual world. They thought those connections could never become real friendships. But later, they realized they had been completely wrong. One night when Matt was 25 years old, he fell asleep and never woke up again. Although his mother had mentally prepared herself for that day, when the moment finally came, her tears still fell uncontrollably. His family was consumed by grief. Matt's mother felt that she needed to tell the people online what had happened. At the very least, she wanted them to know that Matt would never log into the game again. Using the password Matt had left behind, they accessed his blog there. They posted an obituary titled, "The End of the Journey." They thought very few people would ever see it, but soon, one memorial message after another began pouring in. They were all friends Matt had met inside the game. Every letter was filled with sincerity. They described the important role Matt had played in their lives. Some people said, he was a thoughtful listener who always understood others. Others said, he was a patient guide who helped them through difficult moments. Matt had spent 8 years in a gaming guild called Starlight. The guild records contained detailed conversations between its members. The entire archive contained 42,000 pages. Among them were countless messages written by Matt, along with a long personal story he had written before his death. These records finally allowed his parents to discover a side of Matt they had never known. Inside the game, Matt created an image of a powerful warrior. He named the character Evelyn. The character was a detective. He loved fighting against evil forces. Wherever he went, he made new friends. He enjoyed sitting in virtual tavern sand, drinking a virtual beer. Evelyn was like another version of himself. She represented the life he had always dreamed of living. Just like his character in the game, Matt could never stay in one place. He was always running towards somewhere farther away. Reality had trapped his body, so inside another world, he desperately searched for freedom. Because of his disability, everyone treated him like a child, but they never realized that inside his 17-year-old mind was still the heart of a teenage boy, a boy who dreamed about love, a boy who longed for the attention of a girl he liked. He hated amusement parks. He hated concerts, but he dreamed of going to parties with his high school classmates. He dreamed of approaching the prettiest girl at school. He dreamed of riding a motorcycle with her and taking her to a romantic beach. But for Matt, all of those dreams were impossible fantasies. They were places she could never reach in this lifetime. The encounters that were impossible in real life could happen so easily inside the game. One day, a girl with dark hair walked out from the forestand and approached Matt's character. She was the one who made the first move. The weakness he felt in the real world made Matt become brave inside the virtual world. At that moment, it felt as if his soul had truly stood up, and a special connection began. The girl's username was Ruyan. Her playful and unpredictable personality quickly captured Matt's heart. The next day, Matt traveled across the entire world of Azeroth. After searching everywhere, he finally found Ruyan inside a small tavern. He raised his telescope and secretly watched her from a distance. But Ruyan noticed him too, and naturally, the two of them came together. Matt introduced her to his detective agency. He told her stories about the cases he had solved, and every now and then, he made the girl in front of him laugh. As their characters slowly moved closer, two lonely hearts began to become connected. Although it was only a kiss inside a virtual world, it felt like sunlight shining on his face. For the first time, Matt truly felt that he was experiencing what love felt like. From that day on, Matt brought Ruyan a bouquet of flowers every time they met. They talked about everything. and their feelings for each other continued to grow as they spent more time together. But one ordinary night, Ruyan suddenly stopped moving. She completely lost all response. Just like the way she had appeared, she disappeared without warning. Mats searched every tavern in the game, but he never saw that familiar figure again. He tried sending messages to Ruyan, but he never received a single reply. It was as if she had vanished from the world, and she was gone forever after that night. Meanwhile, 800 kilometers away from Norway, in the Netherlands, a 17-year-old girl named Lisette was facing her own struggle because she played video games late into the night every day. Her grades began to drop. Her parents became furious. They took away her computer, and they did not even give her a chance to say a final goodbye to her friends. But her parents' strict punishment did not improve her grades. Instead, it pushed her into depression. Perhaps most parents would never understand this. The online world was indeed virtual, but the friendships and emotions created inside games were completely real. Even if those relationships left behind no physical evidence, the sincerity and warmth they carried could stay in someone's heart forever. Lisette always carried one strong desire in her heart. She wanted to at least tell her online friends what had happened. Then she remembered. There were computers available at the library. Finally, she was able to log back into her account. After learning about Lisette's situation, Mats comforted her like an older brother. He helped her escape from her sadness. He even wrote a letter specifically for her parents. "I don't know why you stopped her from playing games, but there must be another way to solve this conflict. Please don't reject her. Try to find a way to reach an understanding." Matt's letter was incredibly sincere. Every sentence showed how much he cared about Lisette. It also showed how much he wanted her to rebuild her relationship with her family. He eventually convinced Lisette's parents, and the girl he had missed for so long, Ruyan, finally logged back into the game one ordinary afternoon. They hugged each other tightly. Even though they were separated by a screen, it felt as if they could still feel each other's heartbeat. Later, Lisette drew this moment as a picture and gave it to Mats as a gift. Mats hung the drawing on his wall, and it became a treasure he kept for the rest of his life. Because of his outgoing personality, Mats made many friends inside the game. And Sinia was one of them. She was a mother from Denmark. Her son suffered from severe autism. For 4 years, he had never left their home. He refused to interact with anyone. Most of his time was spent lying in bed playing video games. Mats suggested that she try connecting with her son through the game. Sinia introduced the game to her son, and he truly enjoyed it, many times. Mats was like a family member to the boy. He stayed by his side, talked with him, and guided him through the game's story. The game even had an interaction called a hug gesture. With Mats's encouragement, the boy finally completed his first interaction with his mother. The communication between mother and son gradually increased. The boy began telling his mother the things he wanted to say inside the game, and for the first time in his life, he felt what it meant to be loved. He finally understood what love truly was. With Matt's guidance, the boy became braver. He learned how to actively make friends inside the game. Autism was no longer his present. It became part of his past. The boy started going to school. He began communicating with others, and he no longer rejected his mother's hugs. And that was the power the game had given him. From that moment on, the name of the private detective Evelyn spread throughout every corner of World of Warcraft. More and more people came to him to talk about their problems in real life, and Mats never turned anyone away. He always offered them patience, comfort, and encouragement. Everyone usually spent their time together inside a guild called Starlight. Every member of the guild dreamed of meeting each other in real life. Everyone except Mats. Because of his physical condition, Mats was the only one who did not want to meet offline. When the guild leader organized a real-life gathering, he made an excuse and refused to go. Ruyan was disappointed after hearing this. In the end, she went to the gathering alone. Everyone there was just as friendly as they had been inside the game. They spent a wonderful time together, but they all shared the same regret. Their greatest companion, Evelyn, was not there. He did not even join them for a voice chat. The guild leader had no choice but to encourage everyone to take more pictures and share them with Evelyn afterward. They had no adiathad at that moment. Matt's body had already become extremely weak. Watching the celebration that he could never be part of, he simply left a quiet like. The person who had been closest to him as a lover, Lisette, was still young and beautiful. Mats couldn't help but wonder, if his body had been normal, would the two of them have had a beautiful future together? Feelings of inferiority? The belief that he was not good enough made him want to push the girl he loved away. So he began interacting with other female players. Watching everything happen, Lisette felt betrayed. Mats said that he did not want to be tied down. He said he wanted to remain alone. But those were only excuses she used to hide the truth. Deep inside, he hated his broken body. A body that felt like a prison, locking away his soul. His condition continued to worsen. Even the few fingers he could still move slowly became weaker. Eventually, He could no longer even perform normal actions in the game. He realized that he could no longer keep up with everyone else, so he began intentionally distancing himself. From all of his friends, he acted carelessly. He said hurtful things to people, right in front of them. Mats was saying goodbye to the game he loved the most and to the companions, who had fought alongside him for years in the cruelest way possible. Sinia also felt deeply hurt. After that, she did not speak to Mats for an entire year. The guild leader, who lived in Norway like Mats, felt that something must have happened to him. He suggested meeting him in person, but Mats refused. One day, Mats' chest suddenly began making terrifying sounds. His breathing became extremely difficult. Moments later, he lost consciousness and was rushed to the hospital. During that period, his awareness became blurry. It felt as if he had entered a cold, endless white world. Fortunately, doctors managed to save him. The account of Evelyn, after disappearing for a long time, finally returned to everyone's sight. Sinia asked Mats where he had gone during that missing period, but he simply replied, "I went on vacation." Watching him leave with a guilty expression, Sinia already knew the truth. The game had always been Mats' shelter from the real world. Inside it, he felt safe, he felt valuable, he felt respected. But now, he did not have much time left. Everything was coming to an end. Mats refused to leave this world without anyone knowing the truth. He finally realized that he had been running away all this time, so he found Sinia and told her everything. "I was afraid that I didn't matter. I was just someone with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, someone who lived alone inside his apartment. I was truly afraid of dying. I couldn't just disappear from this world without meaning." Mats was afraid that he would die without leaving any mark behind, that nobody would remember him. But Sinia told him, "Your existence has mattered to so many people, especially to me and my son. Without you, my son would never have the amazing life he has today, and we would never have built such a deep bond." Then Sinia began naming, one by one, all the people Mats had helped. Only at that moment did Mats realize that he had already left such a deep impact in the lives of others. With Sinia's encouragement, Mats finally decided to make his blog public. When the members of the guild discovered that Evelyn, the person who had always solved everyone's problems, was actually struggling so badly in real life, and that his life was already coming to an end, everyone was heartbroken. Lisette finally understood why Mats had suddenly pushed her away. As the person who had spent the longest time with him inside the game, she understood his fears and struggles better than anyone else. So she took the first step toward reconciliation, and their relationship slowly returned to the happiness they once shared. After that, Mats posted another message. It was an apology letter to everyone in the guild who had been hurt by him, and everyone responded with forgiveness and understanding. All of them finally made peace again. For many years, Mats had been the one who gave everyone support and protection, but this time he was finally the one who received warmth, care, and respect from others. They talked late into the night. After everyone eventually logged off, Mats quietly began his final journey, and he never came back. Until November 2014, Mats's family posted an obituary in his blog. Everyone in the guild wrote back to mourn his passing. They expressed their sadness over losing Mats, and they also expressed how lucky they felt to have known him. Mats' funeral was held inside a church. On top of his coffin, there were not only flowers but also the emblem of the Starlight Guild. Many strangers came to the ceremony. They were all friends Mats had met inside the game. They had traveled from different countries to say goodbye to him one last time. The 8 years Mats spent inside the game were never empty. There he experienced love. He experienced friendship, and he changed the way other people viewed their own lives. His coffin was incredibly light, so light that several people could carry it without feeling much effort. But his life was incredibly heavy, heavy enough that everyone who knew him cried for him. From then on, the Starlight Guild created a new tradition. Every year on November 18th, all members would gather together to hold a memorial ceremony for their greatest Evelyn, and this deeply touching story was eventually turned into an official Easter egg and preserved inside the game. When the prison of the body could not be broken, the world of games gave him a second life. Here, he could run freely. He did not need to care about his appearance. He could put down all the anxiety hidden deep inside his heart, and he could become the truest version of himself. That was the most beautiful side of the virtual world. It could not cure every disease. It could not solve every hardship, but it could give souls trapped by reality a blue sky where they could still fly. And all of us outside the virtual world, even without physical disabilities, still had our own imperfections. But remember, learn to accept every imperfect part of yourself. Learn to let go of every disappointment. Release the frustrations that weigh you down. Find the place in this world that truly belongs to you. Create a map that is uniquely yours, and do not worry too much about whether others recognize you or whether you receive rewards. Just believe that everything you're doing right now will eventually travel through time and reach a future that is lasting and unforgettable.